Hello, this is Dennis from the Creed. As spring break comes up, there is a number of tours that are happening in our school. And today we're going to interview some of the teachers and students who are part of these experiences. Let's get started. Okay, so today we're joined here by Ms. Bassett to talk about the Japanese tour. Ms. Bassett, thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So tell us about the tour.
So the tour, this will be St. George's 8th tour led by me. It's our 9th or 10th tour to Japan. Mr. Lures went on one when he was a rugby player, and Dr. Mercer has also been on one to Japan. But this is the 8th that I have led. And we always go somewhere slightly different, and some places are the same. In fact, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the boys in the room went on the last Japan tour, and one is going on the next one. So the students who participate are not all enrolled in Japanese, typically about a half, so you don't need any language to be a member. What would you like to know? Where do we go?
Now, what would you say is the main, purpose for the tour? What would you like the students to get out of this experience?
I'd like them to understand how very different and simultaneously how very much the same Japan is to Canada and the other countries that they know. It's different because it's very crowded. And people are incredibly polite because you have to be when you're that crowded. But it's the same in terms of students' interests, what people like to do with their time. They like to be treated with respect. So I think that's the bottom line.
Then, since this tour is coming up really soon, what would some of the things be for the students that are, going to Japan? What would their, typical day look like?
When they get there?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So we will arrive late at night, and it will be dinner time, and we'll eat on the bus to our youth hostel. They'll get up every day around 7 or 7:30. Breakfast is provided at the hostels. It's a buffet style with both Asian and Western style food. And then around 8:45, we'll have a meeting at which we'll talk about where we're going for the day. They will bring a pencil and their tour booklet, because the tour booklet includes places to note the time and place of a rendezvous. Because throughout the day, we'll have free time, but then they'll all gather together. School policy is free time no more than 3 hours. That means if someone has somehow got lost, they won't be lost for any more than 3 hours. Lunch is either buying it by themselves or sometimes, sometimes I've arranged it. And then some days we'll be back at the hostel early, other days we'll be out and about doing things in either Kyoto, Hiroshima, or Tokyo, or Kamakura until relatively late. So every day will be a bit different.
Then, as you said, this tour has been going on pretty frequently for many years now. Could you tell us a little bit about how this all started?
It started in 1992 when a school in Japan came to visit us. They introduced themselves, they invited themselves, we hosted them for 2 weeks. They had a wonderful time. And the then head of boarding, who's no longer here, was the person who organized it, and he wanted to climb Mount Fuji. So he invited ourselves to go to Japan the following summer. They didn't really want to host us, but they had to. So Mr. Safran wanted to climb Mount Fuji. We did it in the summertime, which is different. Now we do spring break. And that's how it started, with a St. George's head of boarding who was a mountain climber. And we did climb Mount Fuji. 2 boys got altitude sickness, which I had never heard of before, but it was fun. And then we did another couple, and then my children were small. I stayed home, and then they got bigger. And so I've been doing tours every second year since, 2005.
Now, to wrap up, for the students at our school who perhaps might have not heard about this Japan tour or are interested in taking part but have not signed themselves up for it yet, what would your suggestion be for them?
Watch the e-news. It has run every second year, so there won't be one next year. I'll do something different next year. But otherwise, read the announcements. I know that people don't look at the announcements, but when I open registration for the tour, I always put it in the announcements, and I put it in the e-news where your parents can see it. And some boys have basically come to me and said, how do I sign up for the next one? And I've taken their name and emailed them personally when I actually have a date and approval. Because before we go, we have to get approved by the administration.
Okay, well, Ms. Bassett, that's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank you again for joining us in our interview. Thank you very much.
So after we interview Mrs. Bassett, we're heading to the athletics office to meet up with Mr. Prosting, and he's going to talk about the golf tour that's coming up in Maui. So here we have Mr. Prosting with us. He's going to talk about the golf tour that is coming up. So Mr. Prosting, can you just talk about the golf tour, where you're going and what you're doing?
Great. Well, thanks for this opportunity, first of all, Tommy. The golf tour is heading to Maui for the first time in our program, and we're going to be gone for 7 days, 8 nights, and we are going to be playing a number of exhibition matches versus local schools there, as well as doing some training and then playing some rounds within our own group that we're bringing to Maui.
Nice. So can I ask who is going to a trip?
So we have 8 boys in grades from grades 9 to 12. I am going as one of the coaches, and we're bringing along another outside coach who's been involved with the team for the past probably 10 years, and his name's Ray Durante, but his nickname is Radar.
Pretty interesting. So, like, what do you expect to, like, the boys or you guys to get out from the tour?
Yeah, so one of the goals is to establish some relationships with schools that are in that area. Finding competition and unique situations to play isn't as easy as one might think. And so we looked at traveling to Maui just due to the proximity and the availability of golf courses there. One of the schools, Maui Prep, is actually a boarding school, and they've been very welcoming to having our golf team come there and seem keen on creating some relationships that will move beyond what we're doing over this current tour. So in the past, we've gone as far as Florida, South Carolina, and really that's quite a trek, even though you're just going across the United States. At the end of the day, it's usually a full day of travel where we don't experience the same thing traveling to Maui.
So, thank you very much. I guess that's all I have for you today.
Okay, so now we're on our way to interview Mr. O'Connor so he can give us his thoughts on the New York trip. Today we are joined by Mr. O'Connor, and he's here to offer his thoughts on the New York trip. So thank you for joining us today. So I guess the New York trip's happening in less than a week. So I guess what can students who are going on the trip expect?
They can expect to be busy. We are 6 days in New York. We start each day with breakfast and then on to a big gallery, a major gallery, whether it's the Metropolitan Museum of Art or the Met or the MoMA, the Frick. The boys then have a little bit of free time before they meet for dinner and a Broadway show at night. We're really excited about the Broadway shows we have lined up. We've got 3 large musicals and 3 plays. So the boys will be on their feet and busy from about 9 a.m. in the morning till 11 o'clock at night. And they're going to have a fantastic time in a big, exciting city like New York.
So I'm aware that this trip has been going on for quite some time. So how did it all start?
It started 8 years ago with simply, in the art department, it is spread to include drama now because of the performing arts section of the trip. But it started with the need or the want to engage aesthetically in life, to make sure that the boys of St. George's have thoughtful, deliberate experiences with art, to be able to connect art to their everyday life and see art as being important for themselves. So one of the best ways to do that is to actually go and experience art, to actually see it, to go to the big galleries. And New York is one of the great art centers of the world. I think only London can match it. So there's no better choice than New York anywhere in the world.
Sounds like a very busy trip. So what are you personally looking forward to the most?
Well, I'm an art teacher, so my highlight is always the galleries in the mornings. I always enjoy the shows, and I always enjoy just the experience in New York, but I love revisiting. Because I've been to New York maybe 6 or 7 times now, in addition to the trips, I I look forward to revisiting some old friends, some old paintings that I always spend 10, 20 minutes with. I always go back to the same paintings because I've changed, and these still historical things that were created maybe a few hundred years ago always give me something new. They always tell me something new, another piece of the story, of their story as I connect with them. So I'm looking forward to seeing those old friends again.
Sounds like a very interesting trip, so I'm very excited to be going. What would you tell students who haven't signed up this year but might consider signing up in future years?
It is an amazing opportunity to engage with the arts, with your friends, in a big, safe environment. New York is incredibly safe, and you get a certain amount of free time to explore the city and enjoy it, to be with your friends. And you also get to kind of be awakened in many ways, whether or not it's to be in a play and to be emotionally drawn out by that play, or to connect to a piece of artwork that you never thought of as being anything important or significant for you, and making those connections. That we as people, well, we're very human, and we connect naturally to the arts if we permit ourselves to do that. So if you want to come on the trip, you will have a wonderful time. It's an amazing experience.
That's great. Okay. All right, that's all the questions I have, so thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Trevor.